Alright, I'm gonna try this identification again for the skull. Thanks again so much for letting me have a second shot at this. I didn't know that this skull actually opened up, but thank you. Okay, we'll get started. I'm gonna zoom in on the skull. Just bear with me, it's gonna be kind of hard for me to point. It's kind of backwards for me. Okay. This here's your frontal bone. This suture here is your coronal suture. This here, going down the middle of the skull, is your sagittal suture. Splits, these two bones here are your parietal bones. Then we have your, flip it this way. We have your temporal bone here, your sesquamous suture here, and that separates your temporal bone from your parietal bones. Then in the back of the skull, there's a Y-shaped suture here. That's your lambdoidal suture. And then the back of your skull is your occipital bone. Now we'll turn the skull back around. Look at some of the facial features. Okay, right in here is your ethmoid bone. This little spot in the nose here, let's see if I can point to it. Right in there is your perpendicular plate of your ethmoid bone. Okay, up top here is your nasal bone. This little tip here is your anterior nasal spine. And then you can't really see on this skull, but I looked it up. About somewhere around in here, in the nose, in the nasal area, is your middle conch. And then down below it, in the lower part of the nasal region, is your inferior conch. Alright, and then we have your cheekbone, which is also referred to as your zygomatic bone here. Your lacrimal bone is, right here. And then you have your lacrimal fossa, or foramen inside there. Alright, and then we have your mandible bone. Is this here? This up here is your maxillary bone. That holds your upper teeth. Again, this is your mandible bone. Okay, and we flip the skull over like this. Let's see, okay, right. Let's see how I can do this. Right here is your palatine bone. And right inside here is your greater palatine foramen. And I had to Google this as well. Your incisive fossa, let's see, I believe is right here. I believe that's where it's at. Okay. Okay, now you have your, right here you have your vomer bone. Splits the sphenoid bones on either side of your vomer bone. And then here is the other view for your sphenoid bone. You have your temporal bone, your frontal bone, and then right here is your sphenoid bone. Turn the skull back around. We have your glabella up here, right here where the unibrow is. This little hole here is your infraorbital foramen, and then up top here and here is your supraorbital foramen. Then down on your mandible, right here, right here, right here is your mental foramen. Then right here would be your coronoid process of the mandible. This here is your mandibular condyle. This here is your mandibular ramus. And this spot here is your mandibular notch. Alright, now we go back here. Let's see here. Okay. This here is your styloid process. And this here is your mastoid process. And then you have your stylomastoid process in between your styloid process and your mastoid process. Okay, and then we have right here is your jugular foramen. This here is your carotid canal. Alright, this is gonna be kind of hard to see on this one. Right here, oh no. Right here is your, let's see, foramen spinosum. And then the bigger hole beside it, here, is your foramen ovale. Then you have here and here are your foramen lacerum. And then we'll open up the skull and take a look inside there. Alright, let's see here. Okay, up here is this here is your cribriform plate. This up here is your crista galli. This up top here is your lesser wing of the sphenoid bone. This area here is your sella turcica. And this area here and here is your greater wing of your sphenoid bone. And then you have right here and right here is your optic canal. And then it's going to be hard to see as well. Let's see. Right about here is your foramen rotundum. This edge here, let's see, this edge here is your superior orbital fissure. Make sure I'm pointing to the right thing. It's right here. And then your inferior orbital fissure is inside the eye, right around this area here. Then this here is your foramen magnum. And then you have your sorry, actually this is foramen magnum on the inside. Then right here is your internal auditory meatus. And then if you look outside, on the outside here is your external auditory meatus. Thanks for bearing with me with a smaller skull. It's difficult to point at the spots at the different locations, but that is the skull identification. And seriously, thank you again so much for giving me another chance at doing this video. I really want to do well in this class. I mean, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, bye.